Here's 5 things I did to get ahead for GCSE mocks, which also helped me achieve all grade 9s. The first thing you can do to get ahead is knowing when and how to start your revision for mocks. My recommendation is that you start 2 weeks before your first mock exam. Starting early helps you space out your work, and it gives you more time to focus on anything you're struggling on. And then you need to ask yourself how you want to revise. I think that it's really important to make revision materials. This is because making these forces you to process and engage with the content. All I did was make notes, using a mix of YouTube videos, online notes, and knowledge organizers made by my teachers. All of these helped me quickly understand and summarize exactly what I needed to know for the exams. From here, the next step to getting ahead is creating a clear plan for the next 2 weeks. And this is where the idea of studying with intention comes in. When you set a clear intention to do something, like make flashcards or write notes, you're far more likely to do what you said. To actually study with intention, you need structure, and that's where making a revision timetable comes in. Here's one I made for GCSE mocks as an example. To make a timetable that actually works, you need to know 2 things: what to revise and how to revise it. To help you know what to revise, begin by checking which topics are being assessed in the paper of your mock exam. Your teacher might provide a list of topics, or if it's a particular paper, you can find which topics are tested on the specification. For example, if I'm preparing for Bio Paper 1 at Excel, these are the topics I need to revise. Once you've got the list, break each topic down into smaller, manageable chunks. Then spread these chunks across your timetable. By breaking the paper down into topics and then into smaller pieces, your revision will become more manageable and less overwhelming. If you're unsure how to break down a topic, you can ask your teachers for checklists, use the contents page of a textbook, use online tools like PMT, which already have topics broken down clearly, and for essay-based subjects like English, break things down by question type. Now that you know what to revise, you need to find out how to revise for each subject. I mentioned things like making revision materials, but then I would use practice questions and past papers for non-essay subjects, and YouTube videos, blurting, and planning answers to questions for essay subjects. For both subjects, I would normally plan to do at least one past paper the day before the exam. That would mentally prepare myself to answer those types of questions tomorrow. That is how I studied with intention. But what about effective study methods? Because one way to get ahead of everyone is exactly that. What are the most effective ways to revise? If you take one thing away from this video, it's that using practice questions and past papers is going to help you a lot. That is because they train your brain to actively recall information, and you learn how to apply knowledge, which is what you do in exams. And you will also see all the model answers for various questions. So if something similar comes up, you will get marks for it since you should know the answer. It also helps you identify any weak areas if you keep getting certain questions wrong. Another thing I would recommend is interleaving revision. This is where you do a different set of subjects each day. What this does is that you start making links between subjects, and this might make it easier to remember info. And also swapping between subjects in a day will help you not to get bored of studying. Another method you can try is blurting, where you write down a topic in the center and write down everything you can around it, and then check your revision materials to see what you missed. I didn't use blurting as much, but I think it definitely helps for essay subjects and anything you can't find questions or past papers for. And one final thing I want you all to do is clarify anything that does not make sense. It's not a study method, but make sure you ask your teachers or ask AI or use YouTube videos to find an explanation to something that doesn't make sense, because that will help you understand the concept. And when you understand something, it will be easier for you to remember and recall that concept. I can memorize the photosynthesis equation, but when I understand it, I can apply the concept in different contexts, like explaining how light intensity affects the rate of photosynthesis. But maybe something else you can put into studying effectively is working on your weaknesses. This is not something a lot of students tend to do. We've mentioned how doing questions will see your weak topics. You can also look over past end of topic tests or even past mocks and see which questions you did worse on. To improve on these weak topics or questions, there are 3 steps. With both the questions and past papers, the first step in improving is understanding the mark scheme. Why is the mark scheme right? And where did I go wrong in my answer? If you can't find the answer to those questions, ask your teacher for help. The second step is reviewing those weak topics. Find out what topic the questions were on, and what I would do is watch more videos and make extra notes on the video. It might be that the first time you revise that topic, you didn't fully understand it, and maybe a different video will have an explanation that works for you. Instead of making notes, you could also make flashcards. This way, you could test yourself on a regular basis, specifically on the weak topics. And the third step is seeing if you have improved on these topics. Answering more questions is what I would do for this. You could also use these 3 steps after mocks. And the last thing I want to cover to help you get ahead is the plan for the day of the mock exam and the day before. The first thing to check is if you have 2 exams the day after tomorrow? If so, it might help if you look at those two subjects, think about which one you're weaker on, and do a little bit of revision on that subject at the start of the day, since you'll have less time after your exam tomorrow to prepare equally for both exams. And the second thing, like we mentioned, is doing at least one past paper for your exam tomorrow. What this does is that if you don't get the grade that you wanted, that's actually a good thing, because you found more weak points, and you can work on those weak points before the proper mock exam tomorrow. And for the day of your exam, have something that helps you cope with stress, or things that help you lock in. I used to sing music in my head whilst in the exam, and it goes without saying to get enough sleep the night before and have breakfast. And also believe in yourself when you go into the exam, because I believe in you. And one final thing is that I know that I sort of quickly brushed over the revision timetable, but I've got a 3-minute video here that goes into a bit more detail about a revision timetable.